Now.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Von Rieden. Today I'm joined by Joe Chico.
Hello!
And today we will be doing one of the exercise squares. And that's the exercise this past 2 weeks has been style imitation. So I'm going through and I'm going to be doing one style so you guys can get a good look at what I am doing and the steps that I take to observe an artist, how they create their style and try to imitate it in the best way possible. Now, someone even mentioned in the comments that they learned a new technique while doing this exercise, and that's the real point of doing this exercise. It's not so that you can steal someone else's style and use it as your own, so that you learn something new through the process of having to observe and analyze a different artist's techniques, figure out how they did it, and then try to implement some of those techniques into your own style. So hopefully I've been kind of leery about if people would understand what to do with this exercise, and I think people are getting it, especially with that comment. That kind of like made me feel better. But I am doing all the marketing right now as we have people joining in right now. So as always, feel free to ask questions. Joe, are you ready to do this?
I am ready.
Okay, I think I got
Papa!
all my things, all of them out. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Von Rieden with Joe Chico, and today we'll be doing style imitation. We do these Wednesday live streams every week for Concept Cookie, and they start at 2 p.m. Central Time, and that's -5 GMT if you're outside of the States. And we will be going for about an hour and a half. We'll go longer if needed, but hopefully it won't take me that long to do a portrait. And I want you guys to feel comfortable asking any questions, even if they don't relate particularly to what I'm working on right now. And I'll be trying to imitate the style of Paul Kwan, and he's better known as Zeronis on DeviantArt and others art hubs. But he is an artist that works at Riot Games and has been an artist that has influenced me for quite a while now, and I love his style, and I'm going to be trying to take something that I've done and something that I would consider more of my style, and I take that same subject matter and then try to recreate it in his style. So really quick, I'm going to go close this door, and then we will go get started. And then Joe, if you want to get one question out there as I quickly close this.
Alright.
Okay. So pretty much what's on my screen right now is the character that I will be doing. I guess I have a few. So I'm going to be doing this girl on the right here. So now, actually, let me share my entire screen so you can see my reference. Switch over. Okay. So this is Paul Kwan or Zeronis' style. So he has a particular look to all of his characters and the way that he colors, and it's very interesting, and that's why it's really neat when you can tell an artist based on maybe a few of the features. Like whenever I see Zeronis' eyes, I know that he did it because the way that he treats them, and sometimes, or usually most often, it's a double ring in the actual iris itself, which is really neat. And then the way that he draws his noses is pretty recognizable too. But the overall proportions, like there's things that you can kind of dictate that they're Paul Kwan's. So I'm going to take his style with my subject matter and do my best to recreate it. Now, the first thing I do before I even lay on my brush on the actual canvas is really look at, okay, what is his process, and then kind of decipher what brushes he's using and the way that I'm going to attack this. So I've seen a few of Zeronis' step-by-steps before, and the way that I'm going to do it is he does a quick pencil sketch first, or not pencil, but a line art sketch. Then he does a flat color, and then he kind of builds up his values that way. So I'm going to be trying to replicate that as best I can. So now I'm going to go ahead and just share my one screen so you can see it a little easier. Switch over. Okay, I'm going to hide the other guys there. And I'll move this one to the side. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to start off with my initial sketch. And then, Joe, if you want to do the first question.
Alrighty. We have a question from Eon Falcon. It says, "Hi Tim. When I'm refining my pieces, I take hours on end trying to refine it, knowing that I have refined enough. Do you know any ideas on how to stop refining for hours on end, knowing it's done?"
This is a funny question because I often go in that problem of over rendering is what I call it. And it gets to the point where you're literally not making much progress. You're just almost you're being, I don't want to say inefficient, but you're just wasting time for the most part. So you got to get to a point where you feel comfortable with it, and if you feel like the level of blending is the way that you want to be hitting for all of your pieces, like for this Tracy piece, like I could probably put another hour and a half into it and do some cool little detail areas, but for the most part, I'm okay with letting some of these brushstrokes be seen. And it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Like a year ago, I would have to overblend everything, and everything had to be smooth, and I wouldn't allow any brushstrokes to be seen. So I guess you have to really think about what level of detail you're trying to hit, or what level of, I guess, OCD that you have with the level of uh, brush quality you want seen.
William Phillips asks, "Hello from Canada. Glad to hear this is the stream subject. I'm having mental issues with finding my style."
Okay. This is something I think every artist always is struggling with. I don't think there's ever a point where an artist is like, I'm good forever. Like, this is the style that I'm always going to be doing. I would say, even myself, this past like 6 months have been going through some rough times of trying to figure out, is this my style? Which is frustrating. I know where you're coming from. And then it gets to a point where you feel like, especially if you've done art for a while, you feel like maybe you're pretty comfortable doing a few different styles, and then you're trying to figure out, well, which one is me? Like even though I'm pretty good at doing, like in your case, if you're good at like doing rendering, but you're also really good at doing a painterly style, like which one do you do? Because you feel like you're pretty confident at both, but sometimes it's hard to implement both in the painting and getting lost in that transition, that middle ground of does this look good together? So my biggest advice is really work to your strengths, and this kind of sucks, but do your best to find a way to find a mid ground without it looking lost in translation. So usually that just needs to take practice and time. So just keep trying over and over, really, really nail down what you like as an artist, and then work with that. I'm gonna have to zoom in so I'm not working on such a small palette here.
You know what's interesting? The other day I played music that I listened to back in high school when I was like super like hardcore, like just imagination out the wazoo, you know?
Yeah,
And it really helped me like put myself back into that mindset of just being like create anything and everything that you can. And it was weird to use music like that,
that's a good way to do it.
or like watching a really old movie from your childhood.
Mm. Or ones that you know that will inspire you.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I watch Spirited Away, I feel pretty inspired afterwards.
Zemi FTW says, "Do you think 2D concept art is dying? Is 3D a safer way to go in terms of getting a job?"
No, I don't think it's dying. Actually, I think quite the opposite. I think I'm seeing a lot of. I don't know if any of you follow this little short that I'm kind of obsessed with. It's called The Dam Keeper, and the entire thing has this painterly look. Like it literally looked like someone used pastels to color the entirety of the movie, and that was all done digitally, but it is painted. So while there may be some 3D models implemented here and there, like that's one job for a digital artist, not a 3D modeler. So that would be a good example of how I don't think it's dying. Actually, I think there's more jobs being produced for digital concept artists.
I know that was a big fear in college. A lot of my professors, since I went to a traditional school, were like, soon computers are going to take over the world and you're just going to have to take a pill and everyone's going to have the ability to draw. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's going to get that way, but
I do think traditional stuff is dying a little bit. But I always think there will be like those niches of like people that are still really, really good at traditional, and they'll be the ones that still are able to get jobs. Like Alan Williams, I think will always have a job, even if he never switches over to digital fully.
and I mean, when you're talking like art collectors, you know, they're not going to want prints. They're going to want the real thing.
Yeah.
Carlos Gomez says, "Hello, friends."
Hello. Oh, is that it?
Yes, and
Hello.
we say hello to you, Carlos. Thank you for joining us today.
It's like I'm trying really hard to concentrate on these eyes because I feel like this is going to be my selling point for did I do Zeronis justice?
Benedict says, he's scolding us. He says, "You were a bit last minute in promoting the stream today, like 1 hour in Facebook. Could you promote the live streams earlier, maybe 2 hours before the stream starts?"
Admit the only reason I did it so late is literally this drawing of Tracy I did this morning, and I recorded it, so it'll be a tutorial. Well, I guess spoiler alert. It'll be a tutorial that's probably coming out next week, just on how I choose color and laying it down. So I do apologize for being well, I wouldn't say late. I would just say not ahead of schedule.
Jake Scott wants to know, what brush are you using right now?
All right, so this is literally a rectangle brush. This is one that I found recently, and then I decided to create my own. But literally, it's just a rectangle with a slight rough edge, and then it has shape dynamics turned on with angle jitter set to direction. So any direction that my brush goes in, it follows that.
Mika says, "Have you ever tried to draw a character you made when you were a child?"
Yeah. Literally all the swordplay characters I have, so I have 10 of them. I created all these characters, or most of them, in 5th grade. So it is kind of weird drawing them over and over and over again because I feel like every year they progress in some way and I learn more about them. It's almost to the point where I feel like they are real to me. I just haven't seen them in a really long time.
I didn't know you made those in fifth grade.
Yeah.
So,
Even my more promiscuous Tracy character. So that's who we're working on. This is Tracy. She says hi. She says hi sarcastically because she doesn't like meeting people.
Kupo says, "It's the chalk brush." And then you said it was this square brush. She's like, "Damn it."
Oh. I mean, it's very, very, very similar. I wouldn't even say you're really all that wrong.
Bethilde says, "Greetings from Norway. I'm staying up late to watch this."
Hello. Greetings from Wisconsin. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out so I can see the whole. There we go.
Mr. Vegito Seta asks, what resolution do you use?
Whenever I create a new canvas, usually it'll be an 11 by 14 or an 11 by 17, and then the resolution I always keep it at 300 dpi. Because usually there's a good chance that whatever I'm making will be printed at some point. Even if it's not, I still like working at a quality where I can zoom in and do finer details if I need to, and I feel like I get the best with that when I'm working at 300 dpi.
Hello from Barcelona.
Hello.
I may or may not be a fan of the soccer teams in Barcelona.
Personally,
What?
what are you saying?
Oh, FC Barcelona.
Oh, football,
Football.
FIFA.
Or as we Americans like to call it, soccer.
Yeah, Americans. There we go.
Simon says, I finally managed to catch one of your streams. Woo!
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully this will be a fun one for you. It's also kind of fun for me because this is very new to me. I've never drawn something in Zeronis' style. So that's why I'm trying to concentrate a little. That's why if it takes me like maybe a 2-second gap before I actually answer a question, because I'm pretty zoned in.
I'm just going to read comments then. Simon also says greetings from Denmark.
Greetings. Welcome.
Fred says hello from a small island in Maine. Oh. Olariel says, aren't the eyes too close together? Not just for reality, also for Zeronis' style.
Yeah. Good call. Let me fix that. I think they're too high up. I need to lower them, I think.
Oh, Anna's back. I'm surprised she came back from last week when we kicked her out. She says,
Yes.
back in high school, my art teacher gave us small prompts like teacups or skyscrapers as exercises to do daily before class. Do you think that doing something like this again would help outside of school if you're stuck in trying to draw more?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you're drawing, I think it's good practice, but be active while you're doing those studies. So like, don't just recycle whatever skill level you're at to draw the teapot, because you know you can draw the teapot. It's whether or not that is actually making any progress for you as an artist.
People want to know, so what made you choose the rectangle brush over the chalk brush today?
To be honest, I was literally just using it for Tracy when I was doing the finer details, and it just kind of molded over. I think sometimes you don't need to overthink things, and I think I get caught in that all the time of like, in this particular area, I always need to use this brush, or I always need to be using this meticulous scheme of start to finish. But the way that I've kind of learned of what works best is literally do what feels right at that time. So like, I felt good using the rectangle brush when I was finishing off Tracy, so I'm going to start off this sketch with the rectangle brush. And if I really feel like after a little bit it's not working as well, then I'll switch back to the chalk brush. But don't feel like you have to have like this set way of doing everything, and then you have to follow it step by step. because then it almost takes the freedom out of doing art. I gotta move that nose up. It's actually really interesting looking at how he does his proportions. It's such a cool style.
He does big eyes, small nose, right?
And then small lips. But usually his lips, they always are darker in like the center area, and then they fade out toward the edge.
Yeah.
I think that's like a beauty makeup tip that girls usually try doing.
Benedict says, I have a bad habit of zooming in, sometimes without even realizing it. Is there anything I can do about it, or is it maybe not a bad habit? I can't, I can't like always keep an eye on my habits and draw with focus. One destroys the focus on the other.
I would say you do zooming in. I do think is more of a bad habit, especially when you're in the early stages of whatever piece you're working on. So I would say while you're doing it, like for like at least the outline and getting the foundation down, really focus on not zooming in. And then whenever you do, like be like have this mental block of nope, just go zoom out, zoom out. I'm not zooming in until I hit at least a half hour on this piece. Then once a half hour hits around, you might not even realize that you need to zoom in because you're so comfortable staying zoomed out, which is eventually where I want you to get, because zooming in, especially early on, can cause you to waste time on details that could be established during like the initial foundation stage.
Yeah, I would also suggest doing composition layouts, like from really far away, like zoomed out. You know, like thumbnails. Yeah, that's what I was meant. Not composition layouts, thumbnails,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like it forces you to look at things from a distance. How do you make clouds?
We actually have an exercise on that, and I have a step-by-step on how I make clouds.
So go to the website.
Yeah, and I just type in clouds in like the search bar at the top menu, and then you'll find it.
Fred wants to know, I always draw the eyes too far apart and was wondering if there are any tips or mindsets to help prevent that.
Well, if it's something that you especially know that you do, like just be very conscious of it while you're doing it, and then push them closer. Because I would say I do that a lot with like the nose and the mouth. I put too low. So then while I'm doing it, even as I'm doing it, I might see that I'm making it too low, but then after I'll adjust it so that it looks more accurate. All right, let me zoom out here. Hmm. Hey, we're getting there. Because like I talked to Joe about Patreon a lot, which is a lot of artists are doing right now, and it's great that these artists are giving out their videos and brushes that they're using. But if you're not really analyzing the videos and really looking at, okay, how are they doing this particular section, you're just watching it almost as like a entertainment value rather than actual learning, I think then it kind of just defeats the purpose of what Patreon is supposed to be for. So that's why this exercise is kind of along the lines of what do you do when you receive those Patreon videos, and you really should be studying them and analyzing them.
Alan Brosi says, hey, from Germany.
Whoa. I feel like now that we learned the German language last week, we should be like experts.
Ko Ken Krillin asks, what's the best college for art?
Yourself. And if you really want to go to a higher education because you feel like you need that structure of like having weekly assignments or whatever, I would definitely do your research, but usually the schools out in California or what's the one in Vancouver called?
Oh, I have no idea what it's called.
Ah, shoot. Like the Feng Zhu one is also gets really good student portfolios out of that one. But really, online, I feel like is the future of learning for digital artists, and even Nomen and what's that? The more popular one,
TGMA?
yeah, CGMA. And I feel like there are a lot of good classes, or even these knockoffs with like Patreon and the what's the Gum One Gumroad?
Yeah, Gumroad.
Yeah, and even Concept Cookie. There's so YouTube. There's so many resources out there for you. That's why I think you are your best educator. You just got to know what to do and uh, or not even what to do, but how to teach yourself. So believe in yourself. Believe in me that believes in you. Okay,
And discipline. Lots of discipline.
yes. Yes, yes. He definitely goes all out with his cleavage here too.
Nicole says, I'd like to see your character Christina detailed in a live stream, maybe for the topics of hair or clothing texture or design. She has a really cool outfit in your cast work in progress on DA.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she is actually would be a really good example because her hair is not straight. It has like a wave look to it. And I think that would be a fun one to tackle. So yeah, who knows? Maybe next week. Okay, so now that we have our sketch, I know you guys probably can't even see the sketch anymore. Oh, did I do it on the same layer? Oh shoot. There we go. So I'm gonna duplicate that sketch layer. Still isn't that much darker. Let's turn that layer to multiply. There we go. Now I can really see it. Can you see it well on the stream, Joe?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So then from here, I'm gonna do just a very subtle pass on occlusion shadows because it looks like he does just a bit before he gets started into his color. So now I switch to soft brush and I'm going through and I'm kind of edging out different areas that I want to kind of have more contrast. So like the cheekbones, under the chin.
JM Hummel Bummel Brummel,
The one that's really hard to say.
yes, asks, how much do I have to draw one day to improve?
At one day.
How much do I have to draw daily to improve?
Oh, at least just draw. I remember when I talked to Psycher, he always just says it doesn't matter how much or how long you put into it, just make the effort to draw every day. Because having that habit alone will help. Because then some days you'll have like 2 hours or more, but then other days it might be like 15 minutes. But you're still in that habit. It's habitual at that point where you're drawing every day, and you will learn from that. So I would say, depending on my days, because sometimes, just like everyone, life gets in the way and your schedule gets conflicted. But I would say if I am at my computer, I'm usually drawing from like 10 to 2 a.m. On a good drawing night. So I would say about 4 hours is about the amount of time I try to put in it every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say I spent most of the morning painting today.
Right? Okay, so now I'm going to get into color here. And from what I can tell, he uses, it looks like a softer brush. It looks like for the actual detailing, he uses more of like a flat brush. So let me go ahead and just try laying out some of the skin tones and see if I like the process or if I like the look of it.
Kate QVQ asks, have you ever tried drawing with Copics?
No. What's Copics?
They're markers. They're the ones.
Oh, Gabe has them.
Yeah.
No, I have not. I actually cringe with drawing with markers and pens. I'm definitely much more of a pencil and pastel and that kind of artist. Not to say that I wouldn't learn something if I tried using them, but personally, no.
Marina MC says, just came home and found a package with the book you recommended, Framed Ink Drawing Compositions for Visual Storytellers. It's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. Isn't that the one you got, Joe?
I think that's the one I looked at uh, in the office. That was the one from the website.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's the one with the robot on it, I think. Was it?
I wouldn't know unless I had to get up, and I'm kind of in a flow. So really quick, it looks like Zeronis has kind of a pillow fantastical shading to it. So that means it'll usually start in the center point and then it'll pillow out to the edges. But he does a pretty good job of, if he does have a light source, of making it consistent all the way throughout. So he's definitely one of those artists that pay attention to lighting and making it feel real throughout the subject matter that he's working on.
Benedict asks, can you ever do an analysis of an artist from Magic the Gathering or try to get one of the artists as a guest star? I tried it myself, but somehow I feel like I'm missing something, as if my eyes skip over hidden treasures of techniques and skill at work.
Um, Maybe. Like I know that one, the artists that we reach out to, I feel like now I have a few that are more of like my go-tos, but I could definitely see if we could reach out to one of the artists there. And I always feel like I'm learning from every new artist that I meet. So yeah, I would love to meet someone new and get them on here. But when you're analyzing it, well, I guess I know this has to be more of like a conversation, but I'm kind of curious of what part do you feel like you're not understanding what they do? And I'd be curious to see what it is, whether it's like you feel like the rendering on their metal is something that seems to be unattainable to you or whatever it may be, and I'll see what you're talking about.
Diana Chris says, I want to buy the color and light book you mentioned before. It has been recommended to me a few times, but I was wondering what kind of things it contains and how and why and how it helped you.
So this is the James Gurney book. This is like I feel like a staple in the digital art world where you almost have to have it, just because of the way it talks about color and lighting and how they affect each other. And I guess for a specific example, so that's the one, that's the book that kind of introduced me to the idea of color facial regions, where like the middle of the face has more of a red region, the forehead has more of a yellow, and then the bottom portion, usually more prominent in males, but it's the blue facial region. And he goes through like a lot of little tips like that, where it's like borderline eye-opening to being like, whoa, okay, yeah, I totally understand and get that. And then I try to implement that in my own work, and then you'll see improvements. So I think that's why that book is so highly recommended, just because of how many people have taken away something from that and actually use it in their own work.
Is your burst set to 100% opacity and 100% flow?
Yes. Now remember that this is something that I do personally. It doesn't mean you have to do it. I think you have to figure out yourself with working with a tablet in Photoshop or whatever software you're using and figuring out what works best for you. So this works best for me having the opacity at 100%.
Nick Nack says, I'm trying to develop a cartoon realism style in my work, sort of like what you're doing now, but I've been using anime manga books mostly for anatomy. Is there a better way, or am I on the right track?
So this is something that I think we talk about a lot where if you want to further your style, really study realism, especially with anatomy. Study realistic anatomy and then really study it, and then you'll be able to pull from that and use it in your particular style. Because when you're looking at anime or these manga books, you're looking at artists that have already studied realism and usually have a pretty good sense of proportion. And when they're doing their animated looking figures, especially in manga, they're so simplified that it almost looks like it's broken, like the anatomy isn't there. But it's simplified to the point of where you can just hardly or barely see the hints of the realistic anatomy. But those artists are so good usually that it makes sense. But that's why when artists are studying it, it's like they're trying to skip the whole learning stage of learning anatomy and go straight to doing the simplified version of it. So I would say try learning realistic anatomy first and then be able to pull from that. So right now I'm trying to lay out this base of where the lighting will hit. Then after this I'll lay kind of a stronger light source. But I'm also trying to get my colors kind of hinted at here too.
Hey, not howdy from Texas.
Well, howdy.
Marina, who's from Barcelona, says, yes, Messi, we call your armor rugby American football. Oh, apparently I'm moving back away from my microphone sometimes, and it's hard for people to hear.
Okay, get closer.
How's this?
Perfect.
Oh, hello from France.
Bonjour.
I see what you did there.
Do you? Because I don't.
Anna wants to know, how did you do the occlusion shadows? What was the process for that?
Oh, okay. Let me take a step back. Okay, so this is with them on, this is with them off. So pretty much I took a soft brush and I looked at the edges of the forms. So in this case, I did the outline of the head, under the neck, and then I looked at the different facial features. So usually under the nose, under the top lip, and above the eyelids. And I'll usually just do a quick stroke where you can see when I turn it on and off what I did. And then now I'm using those to kind of indicate where I place my lighter values, and I work from there.
Kid asks, did you ever have or had feeling that you have too little time to draw to learn how to draw something and you need to hurry? If so, any tips on how to deal with it?
You have too little time to draw. No. I do feel like there's times where I run out of time, especially with like freelance projects, and I'm like, I probably could have put another hour into this area. But like if it's personal studies or stuff, I don't feel like you need a personal time limit of like I'm only going to be doing this piece, unless if you're doing it for a specific reason. But I don't think you need to be like, okay, I can only spend 3 hours on this piece, and after those 3 hours, I can never ever work on this again. Because if you have different obligations, which I'm sure you do in life, then you just go to those and you make time for drawing. And I think this goes back to when I was talking at a college recently about, or not recently, it was last year, on those who that don't get their stuff done are usually those that make excuses, and those you don't want to be that person. I don't want you to be that person, because those are the people that often get stuck with a portfolio that's not very strong because they didn't make the time for their work and their career really. So I want you to make the time for it, even if sometimes it can be hard and you're staying up late, because those are the artists that do get ahead.
It's all about priorities, right?
Yep. Make art a priority if that's really your career.
It's like make the things that you love a priority.
hmm Oh, and I guess something kind of random that I want to just ask anyone, if anyone's seen any really good animes lately that they would recommend. I'm kind of in the field of looking right now. I've watched a few kind of bad ones, and I'm just looking for something that will be entertaining as well as something I will enjoy from start to finish. So if whenever during the stream you can lay that out for Joe to see, I'd
Oh,
be
jeez.
curious.
Just gonna get like fired upon with a bunch of animes.
No, I don't think there's that many anime viewers on our streams. Just watch the rest of the comment sections for the rest of the stream will just be anime.
Jonathan Miller asks, is there a good technique to get nice outlines in Photoshop like Paint Tool Psi? I've been having problems getting my chicken scratch into clean lines.
To be honest, I don't recommend using Photoshop for that. Just because unless you're on a PC, you can download Nizumi, Lazy Nizumi, and that gives you a plugin that you can add on to Photoshop that does smooth out your lines for you. Because otherwise, yeah, Photoshop doesn't have a built-in line smoothing ability, and unless if you're being very careful or very meticulous with the way that you're doing it, it can be kind of tough. So that's why I don't recommend Photoshop. But there's plenty of other softwares out there, like Mischief has one, Paint Tool Psi has one. Maybe something along those lines in terms of the software that you're using. Maybe something like that would be better for you.
Or you could always just go between the two, right?
Yeah, that too.
I know there's a couple artists that do all of their like line work. They do their sketching and their line work inside Paint Tool Psi, and then they just shoot it over to Photoshop because it's pretty compatible with one another.
Yeah, because I still think Photoshop's the best blending software out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage that with Paint Tool Psi, and it's definitely not uh, as rendered looking as you know as I know it can get, but
Mhm.
I'm liking what it can do.
Okay, so now I'm trying to get some better light in here. So it's going to be the slow process of using the soft edge brush to lighten up the portrait on her skin.
Paulo Victor Granat says every drawing that I make seems to have a different style, and I never feel that it's my style. How can I come up with my own style?
You don't, and I know this kind of sucks to hear, but something that will just happen gradually as you get better as an artist. Like even today, I still don't think I have a style, and I can see little tidbits of things that I noticed I do a lot, and I think through that observation of, oh, okay, so I always have slight red under the eyes or something like that, and you'll develop your style without you even really recognizing it. So I think if you're forcefully trying to create it, I think that's where you get frustrated. So just let it happen, and if you're experimenting with a few different styles, honestly, that's the best thing that you can do right now. And that's why I feel like I jump around too, where it's like one week I'm doing super rendered chibis, the next week I'm doing like this more chalk looking finished rendered. And it's okay. I want you to understand that it is okay. I'm right there with you. We can be misfits together because there's plenty of people out there that feel they don't have a style and they try to push to develop one. But oftentimes that's when you end up usually copying someone else's style and it doesn't really feel like your own. And that's why even with this exercise isn't meant to help you steal a style. It's trying to help you figure out what are those little tidbits that you like and you'll implement in your own style.
It's actually really interesting after doing this exercise, and uh, I've realized like things that I enjoy more and things that that I change, like if I'm using a reference. And I think that is like if as long as I don't force it, if I'm not trying to force a style, like if I'm not trying to draw like anime eyes on this thing and I'm just like doing what I think I see, it
Hmm.
it just like it ends up making my a style, I guess, and it just feels nice as opposed to, feeling like I'm trying to uh what's the terminology? Like I'm like trying to just scratch away the surface until there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Benedict asks when it comes to the moment you can call a style, is there a bottom border how stable and how you draw you have to be before you can call it a style, and everything is like the art skill childhood of experimenting, or does one have a style from the beginning?
No, I don't think someone has a style from the beginning. I think that's something that they learn over time. And as you get older and as you mature, usually your interest and your taste matures with that. And then along with that, then you start to see your work maturing as well. And I think once you reach a point where you're like, I love everything about this piece I just created. I like the way I did like in this case, let's say it was a portrait. Sure at some point Paul Kwan was thinking, I love how I do these eyes. I'm gonna keep doing that for all my future pieces because I love it. And then he went to like finding his nose and then finding his mouth and the way that he does everything else. And he got to a point where he can almost recycle his knowledge on any subject matter he wants because he already has that style picked out for each facial region. And then that's why I assume like for him, I'm doing portraits are probably really easy for him because he already has a pretty solid grasp on how he's going to go about doing the different areas of the portrait.
D. Brown. Hey guys, I've been having fun with this year's first exercise, but I'm curious if there's a good resource out there for finding different styles. I find a lot that are the same, but curious about few digital styles.
I would say usually you start to notice repeating artists on the main feed of like DeviantArt or whatever it is that you check. So like I think the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head of like instantly recognizable are Sakimi-chan, Zeronis, who's that? Crone Prince? Is that it?
Kron's Prince, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. Art Germ, I can always tell an Art Germ piece. And I mean, I could go on with smaller ones. Like Fever Worm is one that follow, and I can always tell if it was something that she did. But I think you'll start to notice it yourself. If you stay more active on these kind of sites, you'll start to see that reappearing person or artist, and that style really becomes apparent to you.
Yes, a lot of the top page people on DeviantArt,
Mm-hmm.
it's always like Jolly Jack,
Mr. Jack.
Zeronis, uh, Steven Sajak, or he goes by Nebezel.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like I said, it's like all and then you got Zeronis, and they're always like the same ones. I saw someone's recommendation and I wanted to give a shout out to it because I was like, yeah, for an anime.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah.
where is it? It's somewhere in here.
You just lose it.
Oh, there it is. I just wanted to find who said it. It's from Ayub Mul. Mal. Parasite the Maxim is a great anime with a rating of 9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Hmm.
All I gotta say is I'm caught up in that anime and it's awesome. I
I will
really gotta get
follow
you to
that.
watch that.
Yeah, I've just been hitting a lot of duds lately. I don't want to say it in case I'll offend someone.
I've only drawn digitally for half a year. What do you recommend on practicing first?
I would say it kind of depends on where you know you're interested. Your interests are. So if like you know you want to be a character artist, okay, well that's a little easier because you know it's going to be anatomy studies and studying the facial regions, proportions, the fundamentals. And if it's environments, it's kind of the same thing, but think of it as environment. So like learning perspective, learning texture, learning how to quickly create landscapes and how textured brushes will really help you in that field. So I think it kind of comes down to figuring out what kind of artist you believe you want to be and then following that path.
Can you put a section on Concept Cookie for recommended readings, like for color, light, and anatomy?
Yeah, well, we do have an art book review section. It's going to be slightly redone in this year. We're going to be doing like more of a video review of the books. So I will definitely look for more books that pertain to like the learning process as well as still doing the art of books. And actually, I have one in the other room. I'll show it to you guys at the very end. It is The Art of Final Fantasy XIV, and it's really, really a great book. And I'm one of those people that I don't like telling you about it. I'll just show you. So at the end of the stream, I'll show you why I think it's such a great book.
I want that book so bad.
Good. And if you guys have seen the Bravely Default one, it's like or even the what's the Tactics one called? I think it's Tactics Ogre.
Yeah, Ogre.
Yeah, I mean, both beautifully done books and has so much content for the price of the book. So this one falls right under that, and I almost would say it's better than those two. But I will
Really?
say the Bravely Default one is so good, but I think it's because I have such a personal interest in the chibi look of the characters. But this one just all around hits like every level of character design, helmet design, armor, weapons, even furniture. It almost is a little ridiculous how much content is packed into this book. Okay, so since we're coming up on the hour mark, I'm going to really focus on this mid area because then if we hit the 2 hour mark, I can feel confident in ending. And I don't want to go too long, but I do want to show you the detailing of a specific area. And I feel like with Zeronis, his faces are what are kind of the selling point of his pieces. or at least makes him recognizable. I mean, his body's in his full character stuff is just as good.
Dan asks, for my animation college portfolio, I need to make a storyboard from a character that was given to us. Any tips from you guys? Thanks.
Um, yeah, I guess really look at the character. If it's more of an animation thing, which is what it kind of sounds like if you're doing storyboards for it, break down the character into its simplest shapes and think of it in a 3D space. So really imagine what would this character look like from the side, from above, whatever it may be, from extreme angles. And I feel like once you have a really good grasp on that, then it'll be really easy to make storyboards of the character because you know what it would look like from different angles and different dynamics.
Oh, it's Andrew McKinney.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew.
Oh, Joe, your mic's like cutting in and out.
Oh, is it really?
Oh, there you go. Okay.
How's that? Is this good?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I won't move.
Well, hello, Andrew. Welcome to the live stream.
Is your layer for color on top of or below the shadow layer?
On top of. Although, as I say that, I mean, it probably would make more sense if I did it the shadow layer above. But I think because I'm so used to painting over all of my stuff, where I literally treat a lot of my digital art like a painting, where it's almost everything I work on nowadays is like one layer, and then I'll make one new layer to work on anything new, and then I'll merge that layer down once I feel pretty good about it. So I don't treat it so much as in like different layers. But if I did, I would definitely have the shadow layer probably above my color layer.
Chili got benched. Asks, I've been looking for a place to upload my art where I can get great critiques rather than most likes and favorites. Do you know any art communities like that?
To be honest, I think communities like that are your friends and friends that you trust. Because you're right, a lot of times where you put art online, it's usually more of like a popularity contest, and then it's just liking, and then people commenting, being like, "Oh, good job," blah blah blah. It's really not constructive at all. And if anything, sometimes it can be bad because then you do art for the likes, you're not doing it for yourself anymore. But if you're looking for a community, I know there are some forums out there, and it's kind of a shame because I feel like CG Hub really was a great place to post stuff and get legit critique on it. I know that even with Concept Cookie, we're trying to create a forum. We're in the process of creating it, and we're hoping that that will be one of the things about it, that it will be more of like a serious critique place, and people aren't just going there to give each other high fives and pats on the back.
But we will give hugs.
We will give hugs.
Alan Brosi asks, will you upload this piece of art on DeviantArt, or is there some way to review the final piece? I would be really grateful for that.
I'll probably put the final piece on Concept Cookie on Friday, depending on how many different styles I can actually get done in that time. So the goal is all three, have three different styles done, but knowing how schedule kind of gets crazy and like I have to have a full thing done by tomorrow for the secret project that we're working on at Concept Cookie and CG Cookie. It's like I just know my time might be not as available. But I think for Zeronis, I will have this one at least finished. And then it'll go on DeviantArt, but I'll definitely make it known that like I'm doing a style imitation of Zeronis and link to his stuff. Because I do think if you're going to be doing a study of someone's work, you definitely want to give them recognition.
Can you draw a taco for this Mexican?
What?
I guess Mr. Vegito Seda is from Mexico.
To be completely honest, I've never drawn a taco in my life. That'd be quite an interesting subject matter.
Concept cookie is tops for art learning. Smiley face from Tom Pace. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I know that the content on Concept Cookie has been a little light just in January, just because I'm hosting a workshop, and a lot of my Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays are kind of dedicated to that. But after the workshop's over, I'll kind of get back on board, and February will be a bigger month for Concept Cookie.
Mr. Velkin asks, how would you find a good color palette for skin color?
Reference. And don't feel weird about like taking someone else's skin color palette, because most likely they took it from someone else too.
It reminds me of Jeepers Creepers.
Jeepers Creepers?
You're taking people's skin.
Oh. Out of Silence of the Lambs.
Rusa says, I wanted to say thanks for these streams. I live in Finland, where there aren't any schools for entertainment concept design. You guys are a big help and fun to listen to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening. I literally love hearing how many different countries are at this live stream every week. It's really cool to see that we all are interested in the same thing from around the world. All right, so now I'm so zoomed in right now that I really should zoom out and see what it looks like from farther away. All right, it looks all right. I think there's some things I need to edit for me to be like, okay, that looks like a Zerona's eye.
Do you have any suggestions for Mac users for help with getting clean line art when things like Lazy Nezumi don't exist for Mac?
I unfortunately do not, besides having another software or taking your time or even using a different software, really. I can't stress enough how much I don't want you guys to stress on like creating clean line art. And that's why like in every live stream I do, I usually don't have line art, or if it is, it's really rough. Because I think sometimes younger artists get so wrapped up in making their line art look perfect before they start coloring that's when they start doing color, they feel really disappointed because their color wasn't nearly as strong as their initial line art. And that's usually because their initial line art took them like 5 hours to do. And of course, your color isn't going to look that great because you spent maybe like an hour on it compared to your 5 hours of doing line art, where you really want to spend your time doing the rendering. So like the foundation work should be like the first half hour most. And then from there, that's when pieces usually take the longest, is when you go in and start doing the detailing process.
I actually noticed that when I worked in with like this new painting that I'm doing with everything, I'll just like throw in simple line art and then I'll just go right to town with just trying to throw down color. And I'm not spending, an hour or two on line art.
Doesn't it feel so much better?
Yeah, it does.
I think a lot of it comes down to like trusting yourself and being like, I can do this. And then seeing it pay off is probably the best feeling.
So we got a personal question here from Kate.
All right, let's hear it.
How were your grades in school?
Oh, okay. So in high school, it was about a 3.4 average. And then when I went to college, I was trying to prove to my parents that I was smarter than a 3.4. So I was getting straight A's for quite a while. And then once I kind of realized that art school wasn't quite what I expected, I spent a lot of my time focusing on learning Photoshop rather than my classes. So I would say at the very end, I think I graduated with a 3.6 or with 3.5. It was one of the two. But I I fully believe, and maybe that's just in America where grades do not matter in a digital art school. Like your portfolio will speak for you. And yeah, your grades might show, okay, yeah, they cared about things like their gen eds or whatever, but uh, are they able to draw a human anatomy? No, that doesn't tell you anything about their actual drawing skill. But yeah,
It was always funny to see like my report cards and all the classes that I enjoyed were just always like A plus.
mm-hmm. Then gen eds slipped a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say I've never failed a class ever.
Ooh. Did you ever have a bad instructor who didn't make sense to the point where the whole class is way too silent due to confusion?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
My first like 3 modeling classes were taught by the same guy, and I don't want to rag on him. He's a really nice guy, but like his teaching ability was very poor, and I don't think he's ever taught brand new people the 3D art, and it was like confusing. It was very, very unstructured, and like our first assignment was to model a Tonka truck. And it's like, well, I don't even know how to make a box, so like this is gonna be a problem. Yeah, I like the challenge, but then if he's not able to teach us how to do the box, then that's where it went downhill pretty fast.
So many questions.
Let me zoom out and see what that eye looks like from farther away. Okay, I'm feeling pretty decent about that eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these layers together, but I'm just going to copy and paste the eye on the other side.
Have you ever considered making a full draw based completely on signature brush stamp you have there?
Say that again?
Have you ever considered making a full drawing based completely on the signature brush you have?
Full draw based completely?
I think that they mean just using one brush.
Oh, yeah. So the brush I'm using right now is a soft edge brush. We actually have a full tutorial on this specifically, which is on Concept Cookie. Okay, so let's go down to the nose.
What made you love drawing? Can you remember your childhood motivations?
Yeah, it was Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X. I think I was 13. Or no, it was before that, because I was drawing long before that. I would say probably the biggest reason was my sister, who is like 8 years older than I am. She started teaching me when I was really young. Like I don't know what age I was, but I do remember coloring in like those like Disney line books, and she would actually like I wouldn't say be critical, but she would definitely like be like, no, Tim, like you do not use that color. You use and you stay in the lines, and like it was. I don't know if that was specifically the reason, but I was like to pretend like that's the reason why I really got into drawing. And then from that point forward, I kind of took it, and I've always been interested in it. So then things like when I was younger, I'd play Pokemon, I'd watch Digimon, and so art was always around me. And then once I hit like fifth grade, I had this whole idea that I was going to run my own game studio someday. And I recruited 6 of my classmates, and they worked for me throughout for the remainder of grade school. And I would give them like weekly assignments, and uh, that's when my story swordplay came to life. And yeah, I don't know. I guess it just came very naturally for me. That's why when people in high school, like even my cousins, don't know what they're going to be when they grow up, I can understand because for me it was really, I feel like it always fell into my lap. I didn't really decide it for myself. So yeah, I think it just comes from your life, really.
Alan Rossi asks, I would like to ask what exactly you are, or I would like, bleh. I would like to ask what exactly you do for work. Are you a freelance artist or employed somehow?
Well, if you ask my parents, apparently I do Shrek. That's how they describe to people what I do for a living.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't understand. I mean, like in the past year, they've gotten better where now they at least tell people I teach people how to draw. But yeah, for a while it was. Have you seen the movie Shrek? That's kind of what Tim does. But no, that's not at all what I do. Um, so I am a full-time employee at CG Cookie, and I run Concept Cookie, which is like the 2D digital art side of the education, and that's my full-time job. And then outside of work, I do have some freelance clients. I really decided not to do as much as I did like 2 years ago, just because it did get a little overwhelming at one point. Um, but I also do a lot of conventions, so that's something that I'm probably more actively pursuing this year than I ever have, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Let me zoom out. I'm not sure how I like this nose. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll do some adjustments here.
So many anime recommendations.
Oh, good. I will. I promise I'll look through all of them when the stream ends. I'll just keep scrolling down the stream or the comments. I mean.
Carolina says, Hi from Portugal again. I love to see one of your first digital drawings to know how much you improved. I don't know why, but I get motivated to draw when I see people's improvement and other things. Could you tell what resolution and size you usually work with as well?
Okay, so yeah, first I'll tell you I work at a 300 dpi resolution, and this is on an 11 by 17 or 11 by 14 canvas. And then my early work can actually be found on my DeviantArt page. So if you just search Tavon TVONN9 on DeviantArt, and when you go to my gallery, just select all rather than featured. And if you scroll all the way to the beginning, you can see all the way to my high school work what I used to do and where I've come since then. And actually, one of the images I share in my workshop, which not I think it's either next week or the week after, or no, I think it was last week actually, where I show the process of me creating the same character in the span of a year. And I felt like every 3 months I was learning something critical, and I would have to go back and redraw literally every single character in my cast, and you can see the improvement visually, and I definitely felt it mentally. And I think a lot of people like seeing the growth because then it helps them feel like, okay, yeah, I can definitely look at an old piece I've done and feel like I could make adjustments and it would be a lot better than what it looked like.
I think that's why I really like seeing art books because it's like I really like looking at sketches and how
Hmm.
people like grew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is this not selecting things? Apparently, I can't select questions.
Hmm. Well, as long as you can read them.
Benedict asks, "You just copied the eye. I would guess out of time reasons. What is your opinion? If you have the time, is it better to copy paste assets, or is it better quality wise if you draw both of the eyes from scratch?"
I think it's always better quality wise to draw both the eyes from scratch, but like definitely on being efficient, it's so much more better to just copy one eye to the other, especially with a straight on portrait like this. I mean, for the most part, it's going to look pretty much the same, whether or not you copied or redrew it from the beginning. The only thing that I would adjust is the highlight, and I'll touch upon that after I kind of feel decently happy about this nose. And then I'll show you what I mean about adjusting the highlight on it. And then it gives the appearance as if you did draw both.
Will you make a tip tutorial video on what to do before pursuing setting up a booth for a convention?
I would love to do that. I think I even want to do a full course on how to make buttons, just because I could not find any on the internet that I felt really good about watching. And even with Khan, that this is something that interests you and you want to get into it. Me and my friend Pui, who has done almost every con I've done, and we do them together. We felt like we could make a checklist for all new artists to kind of go down the list and check to make sure they have everything that a new con goer would need. And things like that you might not even think about, like having a Square reader for people to pay with their credit card. So that might be an interesting tutorial subject matter to cover.
Because no one really talks about that ever.
No. But now that cons are becoming, I think, a little more popular and more accepted, especially in like mainstream, I definitely think that would be a good tutorial topic to cover. It feels kind of strange. I feel like I'm painting a doll in a way.
It reminds me of what is her name? The French
Oh,
sculptor.
Virginia Repair.
Yeah, it reminds me of like her faces because they're like big-eyed, you
Mm-hmm.
know, bigger lips, small nose type of thing. Porcelain skin. Ooh, good question. Steffi's Wonderland. How do you feel? How do you deal with the feeling of an art piece if 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 an art piece is finally done or finished. I always feel like mine are never finished and sometimes want to redo them. Also, thanks for these live streams. I'm learning a lot. Forgive me for my bad English. I should apologize for my ability to not read correctly.
Well, first, yeah, thanks for coming to these live streams. I'm glad they are helpful for you. I never feel like my art pieces are finished. I always feel like there just has to be a point where you need to move on. And I think it was Leonardo da Vinci that said, "Art is never finished." Or what is it? Oh shoot! It's a quote. You know what? I need to look this up really quick.
I'm googling it. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Where it's like,
art is never finished, only abandoned by Leonardo da Vinci.
yeah. So you just have to get to a point where you need to move on to your next piece. And I do think you can kind of establish, does the overall quality and rendering hit the needs that I wanted it to hit? And if yes, then I think that's when you can be like, okay, then I think I can call this one done and move on to the next.
I was wondering if you were ever going to do a concept landscape video. I would personally find it useful because there are not as many digital landscape concept videos as character videos. I know you are very much a character artist, but still. From Samuel.
I think if I do eventually become comfortable doing environments, I would. But at the point that I'm at right now, I would not feel comfortable teaching another person if I feel like I still need to teach myself. But as I'm doing more with swordplay and I do more of these, I even did a SketchUp of a chapter where I'm going to have to do environments, and that's something that's inevitable. So I think maybe in like later this year, maybe I'd feel comfortable at least doing a kind of basic tutorial on what to look for while doing landscapes, or even talk about the struggle of being a character artist and trying to switch over to do landscapes, because I do think there is a transition that can be kind of tough. So yeah, I think that'd be a neat thing to cover.
Agnes Todd says, "Whoa."
Well, I hope that's a good whoa.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, I think these eyes are a bit too close together. I'm gonna go ahead and try separate them. Now I think I can look at this and know that Zeronis could obviously go a lot faster because he knows the techniques he used, and a lot of it is just kind of breaking down. Okay, in this area, why doesn't it look like his, or why doesn't the eye structure look like his, and then figure out what he did, or give the best guess or assumption, and then try to recreate that.
How do you deal with a situation when you try to draw from life, but the person you want to draw keeps moving and you get nothing?
To be honest, I've only drawn from life during like my life drawing classes, so I can't say I've really done. I guess I went to a bar once and it was like a draw, people at a bar night, and yeah, it can be a little frustrating, but at the same time, that's a good challenge where it's like, okay, you know, you have minimum of like maybe 5 to 10 seconds and maximum of probably a minute. Like usually people are moving at least a little bit. Or, oh, you know what? I did. I drew someone on a plane, and I remember they were sleeping, and I pretended like it wasn't creepy, but I remember I did sketch them, and I had like an hour. But then when they moved, it was frustrating because I was close to finished, but I didn't feel like I was finished enough. So I can definitely understand the frustration of that, but also know that that's going to happen when you draw from life rather than reference. So it's something that you should almost expect. So now when I zoom in on Zeronis's pictures, he definitely puts Joe, what's that called when it has that 3D effect? Do you know what that is off the top of your head?
3D effect.
Or it's like there's a slight blue and red. It like pushes.
Oh, the filter,
Yeah. So I probably would save that till the very end, and I'm not going to do it yet. But when I zoomed in, I can definitely see that. And then I see that he has like this texture of like it looks like a. Let me make it really big, like this kind of a brush. So I'm adding just little scratches throughout the face to get that appearance.
that's gonna kill me now. I know what it's called.
I know. I thought of all people you would know.
It's on my Photoshop settings. Hold on, let me open up the Photoshop.
The Photoshop.
I was gonna say with the drawing people and like doing it really fast. That again, it comes like everything else with the drawing. It's practice. Like you have to just scribble on a page as fast as you can, trying to capture the important things. So even if it's just like a quick 4 lines of the gesture of the person, that's still good, you know,
Hmm.
as opposed to not drawing anything at all and just being like, they're gone now. I can't do it.
I'm done.
It's called chromatic aberration, or that's what Anthony Jones calls it.
Oh, what's it really called?
I think it's chromatic aberration.
Okay.
The camera what the camera does to the pictures.
So you can definitely tell he does some of that, and it looks like he almost blurs a little bit of the image, especially with the Samus picture that he did. So like even right now, I'm learning a way, like he draws his nose a little differently than I do, but I'm learning like having this warm color right underneath. I like that look, and maybe that's something I'll implement in my own work. So then that's what this whole exercise is supposed to be about, is picking up things that normally you wouldn't do, and then trying them out for yourself, see if you like it, and if not, that's okay, because you're trying something new, and just one, if only one thing, if you learn at least one thing from this exercise, then it was worth it.
Jonathan Miller says, "I love your teenage angst, Mario."
Thank you. I'm actually really, really proud of that one, even though um, I think things kind of fell into place for me that night. I'm really proud of it, and I'm trying to recreate that style more because I think that's going to be my style going forward, especially as I do my book. And I think that's probably going to be the way I'm going to treat everything. So thank you.
Yeah, I guess Syker's been doing. He's been recently been doing videos on YouTube about uh, approaching his style, like how he's finding it.
Okay. What does he say?
Uh,
Or is
I
that just what someone said?
I haven't watched them yet. I've seen them pop up on my feed.
Okay.
Um, I have to like go back through and try to find which ones I already asked.
Oh yeah, because you can't select the questions.
Benedict wants to know what's going to be the next topic for Doodle Art Battle.
Right now it's not decided, but from what are originally just we asked everyone in the group, it sounds like it'll be something with dinosaurs. To be honest though, we won't fully know until Friday. So look forward on Friday, but if you guys have no idea what we're talking about right now, every Monday there's a kind of our art group that we have, and we've met and became good friends through just our careers. Every Monday, or at least it just started this Monday, but every Monday from here on out, we'll be doing a live stream where 4 artists will come in and they're given a topic. So this week we were given Super Mario Brothers. And at the end of an hour-and-a-half stream, all the artists have their own interpretation of that theme, and then we put them on Facebook, and whoever gets the most likes wins that week. So it's just a way to keep us drawing and almost forces us to at least do something that normally we wouldn't. And then also because we just want to stay in touch, but we started it to stay in touch, but then it became something where other people that were joining in were having just as much fun as we were. And since then, I've actually met a lot of my close friends, and even Joe Chico. I'm not sure if it was through that live stream or through the Wednesday ones, but he was someone that used to attend the live streams.
Yeah, that was Doodle Art Battle.
Yeah, so like we met Joe, I met my other friend Franny, my Australian friend Kieran, who now I stay in touch with, and it's been awesome. So if that's something that interests you and you want to see and check out what I'm babbling about, then yeah, check it out on Monday. And the link will be on our Facebook page. So just search Doodle Art Battle on Facebook and you'll find us. And really quick, I guess, if you don't know what my... Let me find it. Here is my teenage angst Mario. So it's been really fun because I've been able to play with color, and it's something that I haven't been able to do as much as I wanted to. But I feel like now with this style, I can do things like in the hat, I can really play with cool purple tones against like deep valued reds, and even in the shirt. And then under the chin, I can have like this cool purple, and it still read as it makes sense, even though color-wise it doesn't make sense. But you can get the structure and you understand the form. So that's why I think my style is like just on the border of developing, and that's why I've been really excited lately because of that.
Um, Question from Anna.
Hello.
I'm trying to get away from working with being reliant on line art so heavily. Problem is that I'm having a lot of problems with making sure my pieces are crisp slash sharp. They always end up looking blurry. Any tips?
Yes, you need your combination of a soft and a hard edge, where, or even still, if you watch the soft edge tutorial on Concept Cookie, I use a soft edge brush for literally everything, and I'm still able to get those more detailed areas. And it usually just comes down to making your brush smaller and really making those values pop. So don't feel like it's necessary to use different brushes to get a different look, but no, if you're looking for something that's textured, it is easier. But in your case, I will say I was right there with you where I would always spend way too long on line art, and I felt like it was a necessary step for me to take if I wanted to start my coloring process. Try not doing that and stick, or just maybe one piece. Do a more simple subject matter, but start it off with blocking out your shapes with pure like big strokes of color, and really getting like if you're doing a head, like block it out, and then think of it almost like clay too, and you're working with the clay in that manner. So you can do it. You just gotta give it some practice.
I think that's when I have the most fun, when I can just like throw colors down.
Oh, it's the best.
Just being like,
I think that's why I skipped the line art layer altogether now, for the most part. Although I say that because I don't enjoy doing the line art, I know a lot of artists that do enjoy the actual line art phase. So if you enjoy the line art phase, don't feel like you need to skip it to become a better artist. It's just for me, since I love doing the shading and the coloring, that's why I skip it.
we are at 3:36.
All right, I'll go for probably another 10 minutes, and then I'll just cut it off wherever I'm at. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to add them now, and we will get to as many of them as we can while Joe kind of digs through the comments to find them.
I'm having difficulty. For some reason, I can't click on them.
That is weird.
So I can't get rid of them. So they're just on there.
So it's probably just building up. I guess I'll do So a little more detailing on the lips, and then I'll explain what I meant earlier with changing the highlight on the eye.
Oh, here's a question. Are you going to do another traditional art video? Please, please. I only do traditional, so I really enjoyed your video a lot.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I got my camera and everything. I was trying to think of a new subject or like topic to cover in traditional, and I think it would be more of a tip. And I think the tip was going to be on creating contrast. So I was going to draw like two horns. On one side, I use line art to create the illusion of separating forms, and then I'm going to, on the other side, only use contrast to showcase um, the separation. So if that's something that interests you, I think that'll be my next one.
Have you and your friends considered to record Doodle Art Battle? Pretty please.
Oh, we do. Oh, you mean like put it on YouTube or something?
Does Twitch not save them?
I thought Twitch does say. I think Twitch does save them. So if you go to the Twitch page, oh, yeah, I guess I should have announced. We do this live, so you can watch it, and it's not like we just do it to ourselves. Um, so yeah, if you want to come watch us hang out, and I know sometimes the conversation gets a little crazy, but it's usually fun, and I enjoy doing it every week. And although I'm not always the one drawing, but I'm usually there. So next week I'll probably be drawing as well. Or heck, if any of you guys have good suggestions, or if you want to even join the stream yourself, do you want to challenge, throw your hand in the ring and see if you can beat our art group of friends and do something that's better? That'd be awesome. I'd love to see new people join.
Jake Scout wants to know, do you use any special software applications for recording your screen?
I do. I use Camtasia, and that's what all of CG Cookie uses, and it's great. I really like it. So now I'm going to switch over to my rectangle brush again to get the shines on the lips. Look at his reference just to see where he puts the shine. Okay.
Ben Sinclair asks, what if you have a live stream where you are both drawing together whilst asking questions?
Wait, say that again. What does that
Uh,
mean?
what if we have a live stream where you are both drawing together while asking questions?
Oh, like both of us were drawing?
Yeah,
Oh, we could do that, but then we'd need another moderator.
yeah. Although there are times when I do draw during the stream.
Yeah. And I guess we could just switch screens really quick or something. Okay, so what I was talking about with the highlight on the eye earlier. So let's say the light source was coming more from this direction. So in this case, it's pillow shaded, so I can almost get away with the highlight being in the same area. But let's say we wanted it to be more consistent with the other eye. So what I would do, cover up the highlight, make it look as natural as possible again. Go back to my white, and then lay it not on the pupil like it is on this eye, because I want it to be, if I'm imagining these eyeballs as spheres, the highlight's going to be there. So imagine this eyeball as a sphere, the highlight's going to be there as well. That, I mean, it really highly depends on how far away the light source is and direction and a lot of other things, but I think just for consistency, I'll put it over here. All right, let me zoom out. Oh, this is definitely like a scary doll. So there's definitely areas I feel like I need to go in and fix. Because even though I can see some Zeronis influence in here, I still want to edit it enough where I feel confident being like, this is in Zeronis' style, or at least this is my best replication of it. So I think, yeah, I definitely need to do some more editing before I can post this out on Friday. All right, so this is my interpretation so far. I probably have another hour or two that I for sure need to put into this, make sure the clothes and everything also matches up, because right now it's just there's no shirt color at all, and the torso is looking pretty bland. But I should be able to get to that before Friday. So I want to thank you everyone for coming to this live stream. We do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time, and that's minus 5 GMT if you're around the world. And usually the topics are posted an hour or two beforehand, and that'll be on our DeviantArt, our Facebook, our Twitter, Tumblr. So if you're following us on one of them, you should be able to find it. And I think that's the big announcements. Oh, really quick, I'm going to go find that book, and I'll show it to you guys really quick before we head out.
For the people that are asking about the Doodle Art Battle and how to join, go to the Facebook page and write a comment about whether or not you'd like to join, and I'm pretty sure that moderators will get back to you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let me make sure I'm on the... All right, so this is the book. It's called The Art of... I don't even want to pretend like I know how to pronounce it. Eorza? Orzea?
Eorza. Or
Eorza?
Eorza.
Eorza.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty much every page is like packed with concept art and subject matter. Like, it is a gorgeous book. And then the first half is definitely primarily character designs and character... Like, they have the full illustration pieces as well as like the concept art. So I want to say sketchy, but even this is so well rendered for being a sketch. And they really get intricate with like the different metals and making it make sense with the character, the color palettes. It's really great.
Hold on one second. Your camera's still like not
Oh,
high quality, so everything's like really super pixelated.
gotcha. Okay, so like creatures. Let's see here. And then the back half is if you're more of like an environment artist. They have really, really good environments. And this is one of the few books that actually talk about furniture design as well. So you can see the environment art as well. So then there's a few weapon designs, logo. It's really packed. So if this is something that you're interested in, like I want to be a game design artist, this book is definitely, I recommend. And we'll probably have a review on it sometime late January, and I will give my full audio review of it. Okay, so thank you guys for coming to this live stream. Turn in the exercise by Friday if you want to be one of those that might be featured, and hopefully I'll have my Zeronis one done by then. And I want to thank you guys for coming to this live stream. So, Joe, any last words?
Keep drawing, guys. I mean, do art every day.
Good job, Joe.
Yeah, kind of
All right,
botched.
take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Oh, I can't hit stop broadcast.
I think if we both just leave. Oh no, then I won't see the anime recommendations. Alright, well I'm going to do a quick copy paste and then I will read all of your anime recommendations. So thanks again, guys. Take care.